Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I take a look at TEDx talks because I'm a mental masochist or something. I'm coming to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon. Or, after a fashion in Gaelic, I would say, Hamiafuach Auns Nagelach. I'll have to wait and see if Tail feature with that, guys. Hello. Hope you guys are having a good day. Hope you are all safe and well. And if you're not well, please get well soon. Say hello to those of you who have appeared in the chat with me for this exciting adventure. But before the stream, thank you, Elish Norn, who says, take this ahead of time. I need a nap. We'll watch later. And thank you for subjecting yourself to this trash for seemingly no reason. Well, I have my reasons. And they are bizarre, but they are true. TEDx talks and so many of the other speakers I look at on my channel are not brand names necessarily. They're not celebrities. They're not people you've heard of before. However, most of them, not all, but most of them, either through their education, their position, or otherwise, comport themselves to be experts or leaders in specific fields in our world, whether it be education, business, entertainment, and so on. And I'm always curious to know what the people who are in these spheres of influence, let's say, or influencers, as you might call them, are actually thinking and saying and professing to others. What ideas are they pushing? Even if they don't necessarily represent the majority within their field, they represent a voice and a perspective that's out there. And I'm always curious to know what the lesser flashy ideas are that might be pushing certain ideas and ideologies forward under the radar. And so that's partially why I watch these. Also because I get a weird entertainment out of them. I can't explain it any clearer than that. I wish I could. Maybe if I had more time, I'd try to articulate it. But I don't, because we have a long one today, guys. This one's almost 20 minutes long, which means that this is going to go on for at least an hour, probably a little bit more. I'll try to keep it under if I can. So let's get into it. First off, say hello to those of you who are with me today. Jaeger Pony, hello. Corin D, hello. Asian Hippie, hello. Loki Lycan, hello. John Migda, hello. And then the chat jumped because, it does that. Ryan Walters, hello. Humble Clay, hello. Mike R, hello. Stefan Tyler, hello. Emperor W.R. Costin, hello. Nassos, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov, hello. Angela Arriaga, hello. Eugene Byrne, hello. Renovaccio, hello. Twisted Skipster, hello. Gulf City Johnny Blaze, hello. Corey Suzuki, hello. Fernanda, hello. TC, hello. Ultranaut, hello. All right, guys. I will get to more hellos later. Oh, Maladjusted One, hello. Let's get into it. So, per usual, I'm going to start the video. You guys give me a sound check and tell me if you can hear this. Hopefully you can. I boosted the audio a bit beforehand, so it should be all right. And let's get into this. One is called, the official presentation name is Feminist Boys Are Our Future. Men Changing Culture of Sexual Violence. All right, so keep that in mind. This is Kyle. Thank you so much. And Judaphine, hello. Joe Faps, hello. All right, let's begin. As soon as I hit the play button.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Feeling energized and excited?
Are you guys feeling energized and excited? Tell me if you heard her saying she feels energized and excited, and we'll proceed. Carrier, hello. Calcan L, hello. Sounds okay to Fernanda. Mike R says sounds good. This is Kyle. What the hell, YouTube? Why did you remove my message? Oh, did you have a message? To me, it's just blank. I'm assuming it's something to the effect of hello, everyone, and scribbles, if I'm, past his prologue. So we'll go with that. All right, guys, let us proceed.
Good. Me too. I'm very excited to be here. I could just stay here all morning looking at you and actually not saying anything, but you look like you're itching for a paradigm shift. So in that case, I'll go ahead.
Oh, I know I'm itching for a paradigm shift. And to help that along, I have a pepper jack here. Oh, shift my paradigm, pepper jack.
The truth be told, I'm here to get your help more than anything.
Ooh, okay, so feminist boys are our future men. Uh-huh. Bobby Wagner, doctorate of psychology, Boston behavioral science, Harvard Graduate School of Education. Ooh, yeah, looks like I say, we have a professional here. We have an expert. All right, so what we are getting from this person is the top of the pops as far as educational rigor, right? Right.
Don't be fooled by my Harvard gig or the fact that people pay me their hard-earned money to help with parenting. The reality is, I'm just an average mom fumbling my way through raising 3 feisty kids.
You're just an average mom, and you put up your partial CV right there for everybody to know. Okay, all right.
Cam is 9, Ty is 7, and Eve is 4. So as you can see, they have a lot of energy, and this is sort of my everyday. And my goal is quite simple, actually. I'm here to raise good kids.
Good kids. All right. Define good.
And more specifically, how do I raise good guys? Good guys who will go out into the world and feel secure enough in themselves to stand up for women, and to stand up for all people, and generally not be the creeps who just take what they want because they can.
How do I raise good guys who are going to be confident in themselves by telling them that by default they have to fight off their inherent natural instincts to not be good guys? I don't know. What are you teaching your daughter? What are you teaching her to be a good girl? Or does she not require such guidance?
And the reality is, as you can see, I'm parenting from a very privileged position. I'm raising 2 white boys in a pretty privileged position.
You're raising 2 white boys in a pretty privileged position. White boys. So you're teaching them that they have to stave off the inherent instincts of being boys and being mean and taking what they want without asking for it, and etc. And also that they're white, which makes them privileged. Okay, boy, we got the full meal deal right here.
And how do I raise a girl who recognizes good guys?
Okay, so women by default can't recognize good guys when they see them. Got it.
And doesn't accept the not so good ones. So I'm here to get your help with that, and I hope you can do that. But before we start, I want to ask a question. What comes to mind when you hear the word feminist?
What comes to mind when I hear the word feminist? Well, I think of a gender-oriented ideology wherein women are perpetual victims, men are perpetual oppressors, and guilt has to be spread around all over the place over which kind of feminism you mean. There's a lot of no true Scotsman going on, because if you've ever looked at how many kinds of feminist ideology there is, it is a spectrum. And I'm not saying that as a joke. I mean, there are a whole plethora of different ways of looking at feminism. And if somebody says they're a feminist, I would advise you ask more questions, because you're never quite sure which kind you're talking about. Are you talking about a sex-positive feminist? Are you talking about a intersectional feminist? Are you talking about a, oh God, what are the other ones? Environmental feminist, I've heard before, etc. They're just all over the place. So that's what I think of when I think of feminist. I think of a sexist ideology. Okay.
And just notice in yourself what thoughts or phrases or images come up, and just hang on to those for a minute. We'll get back to that later. So this.
Okay, I'm hanging on to it. I'm imagining you, the speaker. I'm imagining the speaker, because I think that's pretty obvious.
The story that really led me here was from the fall. It was October, a few months back, and it was a Monday afternoon, the day I'm home early from work, and I stood at my stove prepping dinner as my then 6-year-old son, Tyler, lay on the floor behind me, completely absorbed into his iPad, which is really for another TED Talk or TED.
Your 6-year-old, you gave them an iPad? See, when I was my last long-term girlfriend, she had 2 daughters who were toddlers essentially at that point, and seeing them run around at 2 and 3 at the time, the 3-year-old especially, running around with a smartphone, watching Netflix and cartoons and things and just being absorbed in it. I thought it was a little unhealthy. And I know, maybe I'm sounding like some kind of 50s, pearl clutching mother or something saying, the boob tube is rotting your brain. Well, it's possible, but still, someone under the age of 10 just absorbed into a device and not being outside and being a kid. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting to be an old fuddy-duddy.
TEDx talk. But that is what he does. And he was playing Minecraft, living in that world.
No, that's not what he does. That is what you allow him to do. Because he's 6 and you're the adult.
And I stood at the stove cooking. And that day I was listening to NPR. And this particular day, the NPR host was talking about Harvey Weinstein and other prominent men who were recently accused of sexual harassment and assault.
And that made you think of your 6-year-old son playing Minecraft, you say? Well, maybe she hasn't said that yet, but I'm guessing that's where it's going. Thank you, Joe Fapps. Have you kept in contact with her? My ex-girlfriend? Oh, that petered out a couple of years ago. No further than the occasional Facebook touch base or something, but no, she, for long story, she moved on, I moved on, she's got a whole different situation now, so yeah.
I thought, wow, this is really eye-opening. And then the host started talking about statistics, and she said, for every 1 in 6 women in our country, 1 in 6 will be a victim of either attempted or completed rape. That's
attempted or completed rape. Well, completed rape is fairly obvious. Attempted becomes a bit of a gray area because I've seen a lot of people define sexual assault as saying mean words or giving mean looks. So attempted rape, like somebody just drunkenly trying to kiss you, is that attempted rape? Now, please understand, and I mean this seriously, I am not downplaying rape. But if you're going to put statistics together based on vagaries and not specific actual actions, your numbers can become inflated very quickly depending on how loose your definition is of certain things. Just saying.
That's insane, isn't it? I don't know. It blew my mind.
Yeah, it almost sounds like it might be not entirely true, but what do I know? I mean, I am a man.
And then obviously my mind went to my daughter. And what does that mean for her? That means in her very small preschool class, 1 to 2 of those little girls could be a victim of rape one day.
Yes, everybody could be a victim of something one day. Could be. Everybody has the potential to have horrible things befall them. You're correct. There's also statistics about breast cancer or alcoholism or heart disease or any number of things. Every child has the potential to experience something terrible in their lives. You're correct. So then, are all the little boys in that same classroom thus have the potential to be monsters? Is that how you look at it? All the girls are potential victims. All the boys are potential monsters. I know I might be jumping ahead here. Spoiler alert. I haven't actually watched this, but, maybe I have an informed perspective.
That is mind-blowing. And if you think that doesn't happen here at places like Dartmouth, think again. It happens everywhere. In 2014, for every 1,000 women here at Dartmouth, 6 to 7 reported rape. That means that's a really pretty big number, considering how many cases of rape go unreported.
How many cases of rape do go unreported? What is the number of cases of rape that have gone unreported? I'd be very curious to know what that number is.
And that doesn't include other types of sexual violence or sexual assault or sexual harassment.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe Fapps, again. In prison, it's 1 out of 1 butts. Oh, no. I did restorative justice and mass incarceration a couple episodes ago.
That's a lot of people. that holy shit feeling you have right now, I felt listening to this news report.
Yeah, it almost sounds like it might be out of proportion with reality, doesn't it? So, yeah, okay. But then you're a professor of some kind, or at least you're a doctor of, what was it, psychology? So you looked up the source of these statistics and verified that they were at least, come to accurately in some fashion?
The host was bewildered at the breadth and depth of these revelations. And I felt it too. I remember in the fall just being blown away. It felt like every day there was new news of a new guy, a good guy, being a secret perv, pulling his penis out around every corner.
Okay, around every corner. Wow, I guess being a perv and a rapist is just the common trait among men then, huh?
I asked my husband, who's very patient.
Is he patient but also a secret perv? I mean, he is a man and he has a penis, I presume.
I said, is this just how guys are wired? Do you want to go to work and pull your penis out?
Really? You asked your husband? Is this how guys are just wired? You asked your husband this? Your husband, who I presume at that point was the father of your firstborn? Have you not interacted with any men in your life prior to this that you couldn't make an assessment as to whether or not this is a common trait among men? Because if the news report surprised you, then you went through your entire teen and adult life not having that notion ahead of time. Golly, it might also almost be like you fell for some kind of panic notice or something. Maybe.
He's a smart guy and very promptly said no. But
yeah, he was a smart guy and said no, but you know he was lying. You know he was not being honest. Right?
Then I thought, this is a problem, and this is something I have to talk about.
Okay, first off, it's a problem only because NPR told you it was a problem. I didn't hear you saying that you checked on their statistics or checked on the studies they were referencing or anything else. So you just took it at face value. And then you put up Michelangelo's David as what? The embodiment of pervy men? Michelangelo's David is a sculpture just depicting the form of a man. The unclothed, unobscured form of a man. There are women who are also unclothed in statue form out there. So are women thus, because of Michelangelo or other sculptors, just wanting to run around with their tits out? I mean, I've seen some feminist protests, so I know that that's actually true in some cases, but yeah, Michelangelo's David, really? Okay.
So at this moment, I just became really aware that this is a big problem. And I went and I realized there were big 6-year-old ears in the room with me as I'm listening to this, cooking and thinking through all this stuff.
Yeah, big 6-year-old ears that were engrossed in Minecraft on their iPad and probably not focusing in on NPR. I'm just guessing.
And I realized my son's lying on the floor beside me. So I rush over to the radio and I reach to turn it down. And then I have this moment of consciousness. And I think, this is the problem. We're sheltering our developing boys. Every time there's news that's difficult or sexual, we reach to turn down the radio or turn off the TV. And our boys are missing out on these really important conversations.
Your son was 6. What conversation do you want to have with your 6-year-old about sexual harassment or sexual violence or rape? Your 6-year-old engrossed in Minecraft, and okay, admittedly, here's my disclaimer. I am not a parent. I have never had to raise a child. So maybe I'm coming from a place of absolute ignorance, but just on the face of it, seems a little odd to me that at 6, you would thus be inspired to go to the effort to talk to your son or expose your 6-year-old son to the notions of sexual violence, sexual harassment, and rape. Maybe it's just me.
So I decide I know what message I want my boys to get. At ages 6 and 8, they're in the middle of their moral and cognitive development. I have this captive audience with these little lanky legs and these sponges' heads standing in front of me.
Yeah, it's almost like you should take extreme responsibility for what you're exposing them to and when and for what reasons, because they are so impressionable and they trust you implicitly. Or maybe I'm just being idealistic.
And I know I need to talk to them directly about this. Piaget, a famous psychologist, says that children between the ages of 5 and 10 see morality through the lens of other. My guys are in between the ages of 5 and 10. So ideas shared by me and you and coaches and teachers and government leaders are seen as absolute and unbreakable.
Kids between 7 and 10 aren't paying attention to politics. I'll just have you know. And whatever they do understand about politics or social norms or anything else are the most basic and generalized concepts. And by the way, if you're going to base your entire parenting model off of one person's philosophy, I don't know that that's necessarily a healthy way to go. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Every boy's dream is to get some booty at 6. Yeah. I don't. Okay, remember, guys. Everything she's saying is how she perceives the world, how she perceives boys and girls and children, and also how she probably views other people interacting with their own kids. And somewhere, this Harvard graduate is and has been pushing these same ideas onto others as, I don't know, academic fact or something. Thank you, Lamented Guide. At this rate, her son is going to grow up to hate her. I don't know. There are so many different ways things like this can go. Let's continue.
Yes, neuroplasticity tells us that we can influence their thoughts and behaviors as they get older. But the reality is we have this captive audience right now staring back at us. I need to say something.
Yeah, it's almost like the same kind of thinking that cult leaders have. Get them while they're young.
I know I can actually make a change. I can change their brain development. And this could actually last a lifetime.
Because, as we know, your sons, without your guidance given to you by NPR, would go off and become serial rapists. All right? They're just programmed that way by default. Without you bringing up sexual violence, sexual harassment, and rape and Harvey Weinstein to them at 6 and 7 or 6 and 8 or whatever, yeah, you're right. They're just going to go off into the world and take advantage of girls. You know why? Because they're boys. They can't help it. They need you, mom, matriarchy, to come in and tell them and make sure that they don't do what they're naturally inclined to do. Because you know that at their heart, your boys are evil unless you intervene. I can't even imagine looking at your kids like this. Doesn't matter what gender they are, but looking at them and assuming something horrible about them. It reminds me of people who end up killing their kids by giving them exorcisms that last 4 days and they starve them or something because they think there's a demon inside them. I know, that's hyperbole, but all the same.
So I back away from the radio. I go back to the stove. I don't know what I'm going to say. Kind of wring my hands, and I'm panicking on the inside a little bit.
Almost sounds like you have some mental issues. Maybe you should get some therapy for that.
And then I just say to myself, Bobby, come on. You got to say something here, or just say anything. So then I just say to him.
Okay, now that is an image right there. I am waiting with bated breath to know what she said to her 6-year-old son as the image we're presented with is an innocent kid and then Harvey frickin' Weinstein. Oh, this ought to be good.
Hey, Ty, are you listening to this? Did you hear this? There's this really famous movie guy, and he was touching women when they didn't want to be touched, and he was saying inappropriate things, and now he's in big trouble. I just kind of put that out there, and I stepped back, and then I sat in what felt like the most pregnant pause.
Uh-huh. And is this going to be one of those stories where your 6-year-old kid says something totally and absolutely profound beyond their years of wisdom? I see those quite a bit. So I'm dying to know what your 6-year-old, who was paying attention to Minecraft until you interrupted his building blocks with an NPR story he probably wasn't even listening to and probably wasn't even comprehending any of the names or situations. What did your son say?
I had images of him butchering the story to his friends on the playground.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I know when I was 6 and my parents were listening to CBS radio in the morning before my dad went to work. I know that when I went to school that morning, I was just butchering stories about the local political movements and national trends and everything else I heard on CBS through osmosis by my mother having to point out the radio to me when I was doing something else. Yeah, I know I took that same story and talked to my friends about, Reaganomics and the Iran-Contra affair. Gosh, I look back upon those days of first grade with wide-eyed wonder, just talking to my friends about Oliver North. I don't even know if Oliver North and Iran-Contra was at that era, but same difference. Okay. All right, continue.
And parents calling me, being like, what the hell are you telling your kid?
Remember, she's imagining all of this. Her paranoid brain is coming up with all these the crisis fantasies just for herself. Thank you, Devil Fruit Zero. Quote, my 6-year-old is Weinstein, unquote. Can we call CPS yet? I'm getting that feeling. I don't know about you. Let's see where this goes.
What the hell is your kid telling my kid? And then Ty pops his head up, and I see that he's not shocked and he's not traumatized, but he just very matter-of-factly says, what? That's illegal? Didn't Trump do that?
Oh, you did not. You did not. Okay, guys, let's think about this for a second. Her son, 6 years old, in the midst of this radio broadcast about an event that really came to fruition in 2017, had to have been 5 when 2016 and everything was going on. Maybe 4, I don't know. And so he's going to reference Donald Trump. I wonder who put all of that into his head between 2016 and that moment. Uh-huh. So that's illegal? Didn't Trump do that? So your son has a concept of illegality, knows what Trump did, is able to somehow rationalize what Trump said he did or implied he might have done as okay in your household to that point. Really? And this is coming from your 6-year-old. Made that connection. I totally believe you.
He's 6. I dropped to the floor. This happened.
I totally believe you.
So, and I'm not here to make political statements.
I'm sorry, what? You're not here to make political statements. Really? You think feminism is not a political issue? You think talking about vilifying men as inherent rapists is not a political issue? Bringing up Trump is not a political issue? Really? Okay. All right. Okay.
But I'm here to talk about the messaging in our community. And so in this moment, I realize that I have to deal with my own discomfort around this and move towards these conversations.
Here's the thing. Your community, here's the thing. Your son was 5 or 6 when the whole Trump thing happened up to the point of Harvey Weinstein. Okay. His community is you. His community is maybe the other kids on the playground. Other kids that I imagine don't give a rip or have any conscience about politics, politicians, or anything else in any meaningful way, unless their parents are also pumping their heads full of nonsense that doesn't matter to a 6-year-old. So anything your son has picked up, anything your son interprets as true about the world, for the most part, is on you. Maybe you don't understand that. I can believe that you don't.
And bring these topics up to my little boys who are going to be our future men. So I just quite simply say to Ty, yes, bud, that's true. Trump did say inappropriate things, and that's not okay. We don't do that in our family. I don't do that. Dad doesn't do that. And you're not to do that either.
Okay, you know what? Taking that out of context, that's fine. If the kid hears something on TV or other else, and he says, "Mommy, you know, can I say blah blah blah?" or he starts repeating something, and you say, "No, that's not appropriate." That's fine. Okay. I still don't believe that your 6-year-old suddenly came up with that conclusion to your statement and bringing up Trump of all things, but okay. That by itself doesn't sound bad.
Got it? Sure, Mom. Back to iPad. So in this moment, my head's spinning.
Yeah, your head is spinning. He's going back to Minecraft because he didn't give a rip about any of that stuff, and none of that stuff is in his head at 6.
But he just nonchalantly hops back into Minecraft.
Because he is a child. And you are acting like one.
And then I think, I really need to talk about these things.
You really need to talk about these things. Yes, you do. Why is that?
A few minutes later, he pops his head back up and he says, Mom, yeah, bud, what's for dinner? That's the life of a 6-year-old boy, but it's these small and fleeting moments that we need to capitalize on.
You want to capitalize on him asking you what dinner is. You look at innocent, just completely innocuous moments as that as opportunities. He just wanted to know what's for dinner. But you see it as some kind of strategic opportunity to like mold his mind in some fashion. That says quite a lot about you. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Nice near spit take. I know. I was in the middle of drinking my pepper jack. I was like, what?
So days and weeks went by, and I thought a lot about the messaging in our community and the message that my boys get. Things that I don't agree with, that they're taking in, that I don't even realize.
Uh-huh. So that's why you talk to your kids about what happened at school today. And also, I don't believe that your kids are listening to NPR, which seems to be the source of all of your woe at this point.
And then I realized this goes so much deeper than just talking directly about sexual responsibility. It's really about gender inequality.
You want to talk to your 6 and your 8-year-old about... Okay. All right.
And how we, particularly our boys and men, see our girls and women.
Yeah, obviously our boys and men see girls and women as prey. Prey, prey. Obviously, like your husband. So, do Do you feel violated that you bore 3 of his children, 2 of whom are boys? Are you regretting having your boys now, knowing that you've put out into the world potential monsters? I mean, I don't know how else you could see your own children or the rest of the world, given what you've already told us.
So how do we reconcile this? What do we do about this? So we need to talk about these things, but they're things that get in the way. And that's in part our psychology and our socialization. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And the first thing that really gets in the way is implicit gender bias.
Implicit gender bias. Implicit gender bias. Okay, tell us about implicit gender bias.
And I'm sure many of you probably know what this is.
I could assume, but from person to person, the definitions of these words always seems to change just a little bit. So what is your definition of implicit gender bias?
But it's when we make assumptions about others based on their gender.
Okay, well, that's simple enough. So if I see someone who's female, I can assume that they have over amount of estrogen, they have a vagina, they are capable, conceivably, of bearing children, and that, yeah, I don't know, maybe they're more inclined to be emotional versus stoic. It's an assumption. It's not a necessarily ill-informed assumption. And if I see a man, I can probably safely assume that, well, they have a higher proportion of testosterone in their system. They have a penis. They're probably more inclined towards stoicism than over-emotionality. And yeah, that's about all I can probably assume about anybody based entirely on their gender. Because after that, I don't know who they are. I might know what they are, but that does not define who they are. I have to wonder, well, maybe I don't wonder that much, whether our speaker can give people the benefit of the doubt outside what is plainly obvious.
So our brains are always looking for shortcuts. They're looking to put people into categories because it's just more efficient. So girls, pink, sweet, fragile, boys, active, strong, blue. You know, our brains aren't trying to be mean, but they're really trying to be more efficient here.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll grant you that. We are, as Christopher Hitchens called us from time to time, pattern-seeking mammals. We try to understand the world around us. We look for patterns. We try to make informed assumptions about what's going on around us. It's just our instinct. So in that sense, you're correct. Although I will inform, if you didn't already know, that once upon a time, pink was a boy's color. That sort of signaling has shifted in our society over time, but that's a result of just branding and consumerism more than anything else at this point. But I digress.
A large study done by Harvard found that, it was from 2005 to 2015, found that 76% of people, men and women, believe that men are more suited for careers and women for homemaking.
Okay, so men and women had this similar belief. Sounds like equality of thought?
76%. So if this whole room, out of all of us here, 167 people believe that, either consciously or unconsciously.
And that is wrong? Do you mean, I mean, the implication here is that it's wrong either in fact, or is it morally wrong? I'm curious to know where she's going with this.
That's a big number.
Yes, 76% would be, statistically speaking, a big number. What is your point? Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that this is an example, as I've mentioned several times, of the God of the gaps theory of statistical analysis, wherein she tells us about a statistical disparity, 76% of men and women think that men are more suited to working and women are more suited to homemaking. Therefore, implicit bias. Therefore, sexism of a kind. Not maybe just observing reality, observing patterns of behavior. No, it's some morally challenged thought process. That's my assumption, because if she goes any deeper into those statistics and actually names specifically what she thinks is causing it one-to-one, I'll be surprised. Instead, and again, I'm predicting here because I haven't watched this yet, she'll just have thrown that statistic out to us and allow our imaginations to fill in the blank, given the context clues of her narrative. I'm happy to be proven wrong. So, speaker, please prove me wrong.
And our brains don't do that to be mean or cruel or sexist.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay. Why do our brains do that then?
But they're just trying to be efficient. They're using prior information we've learned from our parents and families to make assumption about current information.
Or they're just observing the patterns we see amongst everyone in the world and make a general assumption based on general information. On average, X, Y, Z. I mean, we're not pulling it out of thin air. 76% of people are not just fantasizing about reality. They're probably just relaying observed reality.
Where we are today, and that, in fact, becomes our worldview. So what do we do about this?
Brainwashing. I don't know. How do you change people's inherent reflex and observation of the world to tell them that what they see, what they think, what they feel is wrong? I can only assume brainwashing.
We have to recognize this in ourselves. I don't share this with you to make you feel bad, but I share this with you because this is a brain thing. We all do this.
Yeah, I don't share this with you to make you feel bad. I just want you all to know that you all suffer from original sin. That's all. Now, there's no judgment here. You're just all inherently flawed. That's all.
And we can actually move forward from this if we can acknowledge it and see it in ourselves and not get hung up on the fact that we're thinking some of these things, but actually acknowledge it and make a choice to do something different.
Yes, acknowledge the reality that I am imparting upon you so that you can agree with me and work towards the ends that I want to see come about. You don't have to believe in what I'm saying any more than you believe in yourself. And you shouldn't believe in yourself because you're inherently flawed. And I know better because I can see the secret code inside of your brains even from here. Just trust me on that.
So getting back to the original question, what did you think of when you heard the word feminist? What images came to mind for you? What thoughts came to mind? What feelings? And kind of picture what that is for you.
I picture somebody who's going to denigrate men, even if they are 6 years old and completely innocent. That's what I picture. I don't feel like I'm that far off the mark in this moment.
And then ask yourself, where did you get that information?
By listening to people like you.
Who told you that?
People like you.
I'm wondering if you imagined someone like this?
No, because you see, that is a caricature. That is a stereotype. I listen to real people like you.
I don't know, I kind of do. Honestly, what a feminist is simply a person who believes in equality for men and women.
No, that is an egalitarian. If it was as simple as that, you'd be calling yourself an egalitarian. But you're not calling yourself an egalitarian. You're calling yourself a feminist. So you're lying right there. But that doesn't seem to matter.
It's really simple.
No, it's not that simple. Take a look at how many different kinds of feminism there are, and then tell me it's really that simple.
There's not much more to it than that. But we have all these ideas of what a feminist is that burden us down and make us feel really uncomfortable about it.
No, the ideas do not make me feel uncomfortable. The feminists make me feel uncomfortable.
And this is where cognitive dissonance comes in.
Oh, please do tell me about cognitive dissonance. I can't wait to hear you educate me on this one.
And cognitive dissonance is when we have two opposing thoughts that creates a mental discomfort.
Yeah, like on one hand, I have an innocent 6-year-old over here who's done nothing to anybody ever, and who is my responsibility to guide through life and teach the lessons necessary to become a good and productive person. And then on the other hand, he's a boy who is inherently a monstrous rapist, just waiting to break out. God, what do I do with these two concepts?
So I like smoking, and I know it causes cancer. It creates a mental discomfort. Personally, me, I would love to eat a box of cookies at like 10 p.m. at night.
Which I'm sure you've never done and don't do now. Sorry, I'm making an implicit assumption.
But I know that's really bad for a lot of health reasons.
Okay, but so that's something that you have done or continue to do then?
That creates a mental discomfort. In terms of feminism, yes, I obviously believe in gender equality for men and women.
Do you though? Do you? Because you haven't mentioned at any point needing to educate your daughter on how not to be, I don't even know. What am I to assume about women in your shifted paradigm?
Which I think most of us probably do. But that word feminist kind of sucks, and I just can't identify with it.
Why does the word suck? Because it brands you as a sexist, gender-oriented activist? Maybe?
So what do we do about this? So a story came up for me when I was in Miami with my friends. I took off from Miami a few years back with 5 of my good mom friends. It was the first time we had been away in a long, long time. We left our combined 14 small children home with our husbands. We hopped on a plane and we got to Miami, and we're just totally psyched.
So you abandon your children to your husbands, who are inherently perverted and rape monsters. Okay. I mean, I'm just taking what you've told us already about how men operate. You guys went off all by yourselves on a vacation and left the men at home with the kids. All right. Just making sure I understand.
We went right to the beach. We're sitting in the sand. We're drinking margaritas and we're talking.
Drinking margaritas? All right. So you're intoxicated. All right. And then?
And I can't remember exactly what we're talking about.
Probably because you had more than one margarita. I'm just guessing.
But in this moment, I just said, do you guys identify as a feminist?
It took more than one margarita to get you to ask that question, huh? Oh, I can't wait to hear what they had to say. Are we going no true Scotsman on this one?
You should have seen their faces. It was like I just dropped the biggest lame-o bomb on the first day of our vacation.
I think you did. Because, you know, when I'm on vacation, when I'm sitting in the sand drinking a margarita with my friends, which I can't say I've ever done, but I can at least, imagine it. The first thing I want to talk about is gender-specific politics and activism. That's really what I want to talk about when I'm on the beach trying to relax and take a vacation. Boy, oh boy.
They're like, oh, Bobby, buzzkill. Who brought this psychologist?
They did. Because you are. And apparently you can't help yourself. I wonder what that says about your psychology.
Boo. And then the questions started. So what do you mean by feminist?
Yeah, because like I say, have you checked to see how many different kinds of feminist ideology there are? There's tons of them. Anybody listening to this, Go on Google, look up types of feminism, and then click on the images link. I swear you will see a chart on there that has column after column, subsection after subsection of different kinds of feminism that have been offered out there. And it'll blow your mind how many different factions and sects of feminism there are. So it is not inappropriate for them to ask you, what do you mean? Because it is a term without any specific definition, unless you add a couple extra words after it. Thank you, tall person. Hoy, all, can't watch live, we'll watch later. Well, it'll be here for you when you're ready.
What are you getting at here? What are you trying to ask me? And it was a squirmy brain of cognitive dissonance. And I could see it from a mile away.
You saw cognitive dissonance in them when they asked you to specify what you meant. Them asking you questions is cognitive dissonance. It's not, I don't know, critical inquiry. All right.
But the sentiment was, yes, I obviously believe in gender equality, but no, I don't identify with that term.
Yeah, maybe they're egalitarians. Maybe they don't need to adhere to a gender-specific, sexist ideology in order to believe in equality. Or is believing in equality absent a gender-oriented philosophy something that you cannot manage to imagine?
I'm not an angry woman who hates men or wants to be better than them. And I like my husband, like most of the time. And, sorry, Mark.
Did you just apologize to your husband in the audience? I feel very sorry for that man, whoever he is, whether that was who she was talking to or not. I extend a certain level of empathy to him for what he has to endure, being actively vilified by his own wife and having his wife be the one to try to teach his sons how to be not bad men.
And I like being feminine. I like wearing dresses. I like wearing lipstick. And I like cooking for my family. But how do I reconcile those things?
You don't have to. They don't have to. They're not required to. They're not obligated to reconcile anything with you. They can live as they choose to live. And so long as they're not hurting themselves or anybody else in the process, it's none of your business. But you seem to have this uncontrollable need to have them define themselves for your own comfort. What does that say about you, Doctor of Psychology?
And although I outwardly identified as a feminist, it really wasn't. I struggled with those things internally too. At a TED Talk, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who's a Nigerian author, said, being feminist is like being pregnant. You either are or you are not.
Okay, so it's a very binary distinction. Well, that first comment would assume, or presume, I suppose is a better word, that there is only one way to be feminist. So that immediately opens up the whole no true Scotsman fallacy, because we know, and I'm not kidding, guys, look it up, there is not one specific philosophy of feminism.
And being feminist and being feminine are not mutually exclusive.
Being feminist and being feminine are not mutually exclusive. Okay.
So you can go ahead and you can be feminist and you can wear your heels and you can do what you want. But it's really about being you and standing up for gender equality.
That does not require feminism. I don't know what to tell you. If it's gender equality, why is it called feminism? Why not just egalitarianism? A word and concept we already have to promote equality for everyone, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of orientation, just egalitarianism. Feminism is not egalitarianism.
And, you know, as a psychologist and someone who thinks about these things, I'm not immune to this. Gender bias and cognitive dissonance comes with me too.
You don't say.
You know, and this comes to work with me, and it will come to work with all of you too.
So you're inherently tainted, just like the rest of us. So please do tell me why we should trust anything you have to say.
As students here, you're going to go one day and work, and you have to notice these things in yourself. So I was sitting with a patient a few years back who's probably similar to a lot of guys you know, a really high-achieving college student, and he was working on anxiety and stress.
Was I high-achieving? I was honestly kind of lazy. It was probably self-consciousness, insecurity. So I must not be like a lot of guys she knows. I was a college student, high-achieving. I did okay.
And this one particular day, he was talking about his relationship with his girlfriend. And in this talk, he's going on about his relationship, and I'm doing the stereotypical psychologist thing. Interesting.
So you were falling into stereotypes? Should you be excoriated for that by any chance? I'm just curious.
Tell me more. How did you feel? And then he, somewhere in there, he says, and obviously I'm a feminist, yada, 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 and goes on with his story.
And obviously I'm a feminist. Okay, well then you should have been ecstatic, right? I mean, he said the magic words, so he's all good, right?
And I stopped dead in my tracks in my mind, and I think, I wonder what he means by that.
Yeah, that is a good question, since there are so many ways to be a feminist. I mean, you didn't take it at face value. He said he's a feminist. So you have to be suspicious of what he actually meant. And yet somehow you were bewildered when your friends asked you what you meant when you brought it up on the beach. What was that about cognitive dissonance again?
Is he emasculated in some way?
Oh, is he emasculated in some way? I don't know. He's calling himself a feminist. Maybe he looks down upon himself for being a man because he's been told to look down upon himself for being a man. Sort of like you are doing to your own sons.
What are the power dynamics like? Do we need to explore this? So in that moment, I wasn't just unconsciously judging him.
Yeah, you weren't just, but you were, weren't you?
I was pathologizing him.
Oh my God. Well, do tell.
I was creating his clearly articulated identity as a feminist into a relationship problem.
His being a feminist is a relationship problem. I can believe it.
So it's not my proudest clinical moment, and I'm sure none of you will seek my services.
You're absolutely right. This is the worst advertisement for your particular brand of services.
But, you know, I bring it up because we need to have some self-awareness around this. These things happen, they happen unconsciously, and we need to notice them. Because I know when we notice them, we have a choice in how we respond. So now when someone speaks up as a feminist, I see them as kind, courageous, and smart, and they believe in gender equality.
That's all it takes. Just someone saying they're a feminist, and you listen and believe without question. Sounds like a wise move.
So this moment, in part, shifted how I see that label. So I'm not here to finger wag bad boys or bad ambivalent feminists.
Even though that's exactly what you've been doing this entire time, but who's counting?
But the reality is, the next generation of Louis C.K.'s and Mario Batali's and Kevin Spacey's are already here.
I don't, and just as an aside, I don't understand why Louis C.K. keeps being put into this category. He did a lot of bizarre things, it's true, but everything he did was with consent. He asked ahead of time if the person he was with or talking to would mind if he did whatever he did, jerk off in front of them or jerk off to them over the phone or something. That makes him weird, sure. Makes him a little creepy, yes. But here's the thing, and this you would think feminists would appreciate, given the current zeitgeist. He asked for consent first, and when he didn't get it, he didn't proceed. And he never sexually assaulted anyone, or so far as I know, he's never had charges of sexual assault or rape levied against him, just being a little creepy with his fetish for jerking off in front of people. That's it. Now, I'm not saying that Louis C.K. possesses a harp and a halo, but putting him in line with other people who have actually done horrible, horrible things to people against their will, it's always fascinated me.
They're on our playing fields. They're sitting in our classrooms. And we need to say something.
Yes, we need to assume that if you see a boy, they are a secret potential rapist, a secret potential sexual assaulter, or even better, they've already committed such acts and they just need to be called out on them because they're boys. We need to assume that of them. We need to have some implicit gender bias regarding boys. That's what you're promoting here, even though you were lambasting the concept just a few minutes ago, right?
We have this captive audience now with these little boys in front of us. And fingers crossed, those guys aren't my boys or your brothers or the kids you know from home. But the reality is some of them are. And we need to make a choice about what we say to them.
Yes, fingers crossed, guys, that the natural instincts of boys to abuse and rape women will go the correct and moral way. But just in case, we need to assume the worst and intervene to make them feel bad about themselves and consequently be suspicious not only of their own motivations, but any other man they come across in relation to a woman. Yeah, got it.
We can either wait and see if our boys are the ones who happen to push a girl past her limit as he's fumbling to figure out his own sexuality, or worse, becomes the guy who intentionally takes advantage of his younger female coworkers.
I honestly do not understand how people can move through life with this set of glasses over their eyes. Every man they come across is immediately met with suspicion of being the worst kind of person, unless or until you prove yourself otherwise. But you can never be sure, because men are sneaky like that. They hide their monstrosity so very, very well.
And we all have a captive audience in front of us. You and me, it doesn't really matter who you are, me as a parent, you in other ways. But we know we need to bring this up, and we need to bring this up now.
No. Not we. You're not speaking for we. You're speaking for you. At least be honest about that part.
What research tells us is that rapists don't see themselves that way. But they will say, yes, I have non-consensual sex. But they don't identify as a rapist.
Uh-huh. And that applies to rapists. Being a rapist is not a gendered condition. Might I add, female educator.
And we know these transgressions for these guys start early. They start in high school, they start in college, and they start with people they know. So I know I need to move towards these conversations and through the discomfort, and I encourage you to do the same to me. So the norms in our society.
Okay, there's some weird edits going on in this talk. Now I did not edit this video any further beyond enhancing the audio volume a little bit. So I've noticed some very odd cuts and edits here so far, and that was the first one where like the audio overlapped each other. I didn't do any of that. This is the original recording, just for reference. I'm not leaving anything out that wasn't presented in the original.
Society override our internal beliefs. So if you don't actually think about this, you're not going to do anything different. You have to move towards it and say something. Acknowledge gender inequity. Notice cognitive dissonance in yourself. Notice implicit gender bias, and say something different. You might have a thought, but a thought is just a neural firing. It doesn't have to become an action or a word.
You're right. A thought does not have to become an action or a word. Like, I don't know, assuming that your child, your 6-year-old son, playing Minecraft on the floor without you intervening and exposing him to the concepts of sexual violence and rape at 6 years old, is thus going to become a sexually violent rapist that you assume is hardwired into his brain because of his gender. Now, you don't have to act on that thought. You don't have to assume the absolute worst of someone on the basis of their gender. You don't have to be a feminist.
So notice what you're thinking and say something different, even if it's different than what you've thought. And the repair is much more important than the rupture. Expect we're going to make ruptures. None of us are perfect in this. I think about this and I do this all the time.
You cause damage and then have to try to plug up the leaks after the fact. You do that all the time. You know what? In your case, I can believe it.
So say something different. It's the repair that's more important. Secondly, if somebody asks, say, yes, I am a feminist. All you're saying is, yes, I believe in equal rights for men and women.
No. Oh, there was an edit right there. No, that's not what feminism means. Just say, I believe in equal rights for men and women, or I am an egalitarian if you want to get really technical. Saying I'm a feminist means that you are for one gender over the other. It's not about equality. It's not about treating people equally. It's about assuming one side is inherently a victim and the other side is inherently a villain.
And even if this is a bit uncomfortable for you or not how you see yourself, this is really important for our younger generation. This is really important for our young boys and our young girls who hear our moms and dads and big brothers say, yes, absolutely, I believe in gender equality. And say something early. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just say something. You can fumble your way through it. Speak up and be a leader in this. Feminist boys are our future men. Thank you.
Am I the only one that worries about her sons? Am I the only one that worries that they're going to grow up with a very skewed notion of themselves, about their inherent good or evil, about what behaviors or impulses or likes or dislikes they're going to classify within themselves as inherently wrong or bad or morally bankrupt? You know, and I know this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I cannot help but think about Catholicism and original sin. Living life under the belief that you are inherently flawed. It is a flaw that you will never get rid of, and you can only work every single day to try to stave off. And anything that might be considered a slip-up and such, you have to ask for you have to apologize for. You have to seek penance. And if you don't do it correctly, you're probably going to hell for the rest of eternity. I can't imagine living my entire life hating myself, walking on eggshells over anything I might think, or anything I might feel, or anything I might say could be turned back on me as evidence of my inherent sin. Anyway, there you go, guys. That was the presentation. Now I'm going to turn it over to you guys. We've gone a little bit over my hour usual term, but that was just necessary given the length and given the content. So if you have any comments, questions, anything else you'd like to give there, I'll give it another about 5 or 10 minutes here. We'll see where it goes. And again, thank you guys all for coming out today. Let's see. Faithless says, feminist boys are future rapists. I don't want to say that either, but rebelling against the hatred they've had imparted upon themselves by feminist mothers, I can't even imagine what kind of psychological contingencies you might have out of that. I don't even know. That one servant of Satania who wishes Minilad won. I believe feminist boys are the future rapists. In fact, feminist men are also rapists. I don't believe that is inherently true either. I think everybody makes the decisions they're going to make. I think there are people who hide behind the shield of proclaiming virtue when behind the scenes they are acting badly or criminally, perhaps. We've seen that happen a lot. It doesn't necessarily mean one-to-one it's true. But, you know, the old phrase goes, methinks thou doth protest too much. Someone who is virulently on a particular virtuous side of something, I'm not saying you should be suspicious immediately, but sometimes you do have to wonder. But I don't think it's a one-for-one guarantee. Chicago Mike, boys are evil, girls are good, says NPR. Apparently NPR is her gospel in this instance, because NPR was the one that after, 6 or 8 years of being a mother, I forget exactly how it went, she suddenly realized that then she had to talk to her boys about sexual violence and rape, even though they were already so well informed about Donald Trump. No one, nowhere. Can't she just impart the values of civility to her kids? She can. She's choosing not to. She's choosing to tell her boys that they have to be careful of any impulse, any thought that goes against whatever version of feminism it is that she practices. Notice how she never actually specified what version of feminism she practices. And that says something to me, because there are a lot. And the fact that she did not acknowledge how many different aspects there are to that ideology, she wasn't, either she was not acknowledging reality, or she's trying to brand herself as some kind of like broad spectrum speaker for that entire movement. Mike R says, best video to date, Scribelight. Really? Really? Some of my scripted stuff, with jokes and inserts and things. I don't know. I appreciate the compliment, but I don't know. John Miller, I mean, her entire speech was about her sons. How fucked is her daughter? Yeah, she never brought up, what guidance do you need to give a girl? Even if it was going to be guidance, under the assumption that all boys are evil or something. She didn't focus anything on that. Well, shouldn't you, if you truly believe that all men are potential rapists or abusers or something, shouldn't you empower your daughter to take precautions against such things? Or do you just assume that it's not the girl's responsibility to look out for themselves? I mean, she did say at the beginning that she's trying to teach her daughter to look out for good guys versus bad guys, but she never went any deeper than that. So I'm curious. And again, maybe she did, but it was cut out of this talk. I don't know. There were a lot of edits in there. Asian Hippie says, don't mean to be ignorant, but what is NPR? NPR is National Public Radio. It is a, think of PBS, Public Broadcasting Service. It's kind of like that in America. It is a nonprofit radio network. It does have a political bias, even though they claim otherwise. But it is not affiliated specifically with a corporation or a specific political party. It does decidedly lean left, however. But it's free radio is essentially the notion. And, there are a lot of good things that NPR has done over the years. I'm not going to argue that. But just know, going into it, that more likely than not, you're going to be getting, like so many other places, a slant on current events and philosophies. Let's see. Keeverdam says, if we're teaching boys not to use women for sex, we should teach girls not to use men for money. Now, Keeverdam, that is assuming that women are all inherently gold diggers. And we know that's not true. And I'm not saying that facetiously. I know that's not true. But, I mean, making assumptions about people on the basis of gender, that's bad. As she said, implicit gender bias. except biased against boys and men that they are potentially horrible criminals and rapists, that's okay. But implicit gender bias otherwise, no, that's bad. That's bad. Let's see, anything else here? Shadow Sonata says, but in her mind, there are no good guys. I assume she has to come to any man that she meets for the first time with a 70-30 suspicion of being a creep, a perv, a rapist. Given what she was laying out there, she must assume from that same statistic that she threw out there of 76% of people believe men are more suited to work and women are more suited to homemaking, that any man she comes across must be about 70-30 more likely a creep, since she wasn't willing to go any further into those statistics and what else might have caused them. And ERAUS now, or ERAS now, her boys will either not grow up mentally, grow up to hate themselves, or grow up to despise her. Or why not all three? I don't know. I'm thankful that my mother didn't make me hate myself as I was growing up. But guys, I've gone on far longer than I meant to. Say a few last hellos to people that I didn't say hello to before and who I haven't read a comment from. So if I read your comment, effectively think of that as a hello, just to save some time, because I'm efficient like that. Thomas Cleaver, hello. Deck Wow, hello. Midnight in Exile, hello. Zeo Gold, hello. Dragon Mage, hello. Anybody else that I missed? Dead Kaiser, hello. Let's see. Irate Prostate, hello. And No One Nowhere, hello. I can't remember. Belias Fire, hello. Okay. Twisted Skipster, hello. Della Hazed, hello. And Deathbloke76, hello. Anybody else that I miss? Becca Fairley, hello. Giovanni Prince, hello. Nicholas Daly, hello. First name, last name, hello. Lurking Gopher, hello. All right, guys. Wandering Lisa, hello. Cannibalistic Wizard, hello. I'll give it another couple of beats here. And John Miller, hello. Okay, Loki Lycan. I'm pretty sure I said hello to you earlier, but you get a second one. Okay. Guys, as always, thank you for joining me on this wonderful sojourn into the wonderful world of feminism. Because we need a little reminder. I guess, just for the heck of it. I now return to my Corona bunker on the moon, already in progress. Everyone here, thank you so much for coming out today and joining me on this. I really do appreciate it. I probably couldn't get through all these things without you. Everyone who shared the stream, thank you so much for doing so. If you do so on Twitter, which is my main social media outlet, please be sure to tag me in your retweet of it. And if you're retweeted with my tag on there, be sure to put a period at the beginning, because otherwise only I see it, nobody else does. And if you do so, yeah, tag me in it so I know that you did it, so I can say thank you, because I really do appreciate it. Everybody who donated today, again, I'm always so humbled by your generosity. I don't know how else to express it, especially in this crazy time we live in right now. Thank you so much. So everybody, hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. I'll have another one of these probably on Wednesday, but otherwise you'll see me tonight on Lords of the Night on Satsu's channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Same goes for Tuesday night, except it'll be on this channel. And then, yeah, hope to see you tonight. Hope to see you tomorrow. Hope to see you Wednesday. Everybody have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.